Yo guys, welcome back to another video. I wanted to quickly do this kind of review video before I got to go to work. So as you can see by the title, today we're going to be covering Frank Miller's Batman, and more specifically what I've been reading over the last few days, which is Batman Year One and then The Dark Knight Returns. Now I have some very differing opinions between these two, so yeah, strap in because I want to get started here. So starting with Batman Year One, I read this first. I feel like it was kind of necessary, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was really cool to see that just like very Frank Miller crime noir style in a Year One Batman story. That, I mean, reading this, I could see a lot of the inspiration for the Batman, the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman movie. A lot of it seemed very, very similar to Batman Year One here. Everything from Selina Kyle to Batman in his like kind of makeshift like, not like gadgets, that kind of shit. You know, you could definitely see a lot of the inspiration for that movie, which is probably my favorite Batman film, came from this. So it was really neat, and I'm a big fan of Frank Miller's Daredevil, like his Daredevil Man Without Fear, which I covered on the channel several months ago. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and this Batman Year One was very reminiscent of his Daredevil Year One, essentially, the Man Without Fear. Now, I don't know which one exactly came first, if he did Batman Year One first or Daredevil. It doesn't really matter. They're very similar, and I think Daredevil and Batman are also quite similar characters in the roles that they play in their universe and their environment, and so forth. So yeah, it was just interesting to see. Also, the Mazzucchelli art throughout this was very good. I love the way that David Mazzucchelli draws characters. It's got this very cartoony look to it that's also very gritty at the same time. It reminds me almost of like whoever the artist is on Batman and Robin Year One, the newer run. I can't remember his name, but just like those thick borders, it just looks really pleasing to the eye, and the colors and everything. Also, almost like Hayden Sherman-y, to compare it to something a little bit more modern. But yeah, the art is just fantastic, and the story is wonderful. It's as much as it's a Batman Year One story, it's also very much like a Jim Gordon Year One story. That's following Jim Gordon as he's like just arriving to Gotham. He got like transferred from some other police department, and he gets there, and the Gotham GCPD is very corrupt and dangerous, and he's a good cop. He's a good person, and because of that, it puts a target on his back as he's navigating through the police department, trying to kind of take down the corruption from within. Also, the just rampant crime throughout Gotham City in general. It's very neat to follow him, and then there's some drama that comes up with him and his marriage and stuff like that, which was also very interesting to read about. Like, you know, he's not just this very like, he's a good guy at the end of the day. He's a good cop, but maybe he, you know, he's flawed. He's a human character, and maybe he does something that is terrible, you know, which I won't spoil it, but it's just very interesting to read, and from his point of view, and struggling with his marriage and the stuff that comes along with that, just the drama, his interpersonal character drama, stuff like that. But then we flip to like Batman, just learning how to do his thing. You know, he comes up with the idea of becoming a symbol that strikes fear into the criminals of Gotham. becoming the Bat, you know, and just kind of this trial and error vigilanteism is just really neat to read about, and him, you know, just becoming the Batman for the first time and really putting together this persona. So yeah, Batman Year One is a fantastic read. I think I gave it like 4 stars or something like that. Not that that matters. I just like to give stuff that I read a star rating. Like on Comic Geeks, do a little bit of a review. But yeah, I highly recommend if you want to get into Batman reading Batman, definitely read this, because it's a good retelling. I guess they do cover like his origin story, like the Crime Alley shit, I think, if I remember correctly, but it's also just a good like Year One, like proto Batman story. So yeah, very good. But moving on to The Dark Knight Returns, my thoughts on this are very different. So I could not finish this for the life of me. I read the first giant-sized issue. I read the first issue in this trade paperback, and it's like 60 pages long. So it's a thick book, right? And I disliked a lot about it. I DNF'd this book, so I did not finish it, and I don't really plan on going back to it, because whenever I get the feeling like I'm really struggling to get through it and it's just not getting me, I mean, I'm sick of trying to like really push through it. That's how I get burnt out. That's what I've come to learn through my reading journey, whether that be novels, comics. Whenever I get that feeling, it's time to tap out and move on to something that I'm feeling, you know. So this was not it. So firstly, just right out the gate, I don't know exactly who decided on the paneling for this book, but it is genuinely atrocious. I hate the way that the layouts of this book are. You oftentimes get shit like this, which is just terrible. It's kind of hard to follow. You're getting these kind of, you're in the moment, but then you're getting like TV broadcast stuff thrown in, and then backstory, and it's just atrocious, and I really fucking hate it. You will see stuff like this quite often, where you've got the text bubbles above this, like I can't handle it. I really dislike the layout for this book. It makes me mad. The story is not great either. Like, I like the general premise. Sort of Bruce Wayne stepping aside as Batman for a decade, 15 years or something like that, and then, you know, realizing that he's got like this itch to come back, and it's not something he can really ever retire from. Like, he is Batman, and he needs to come back because the crime and corruption in his absence has spiraled back out of control. And the aesthetic, like, we see these villains, I forget what they're called, but they've got like these Cyclops masks, like these kind of visors, and it's everything else is like pretty basic, like crime noir, like just like regular modern like style, but it almost reminds me of like a proto cyberpunk kind of vibe, which leads me to believe that this is kind of like the way that I see it, at least, is this is like what happens between Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond. Like, you can very easily, I think, put this between those two stories, or at least elements of it, to where, you know, Batman the Animated Series, after that maybe wraps up, you can see Batman maybe putting down the cowl and stepping aside for a while, and then coming back into it for another after 10 to 15 years away, coming back to it for another 15 years before finally like putting down the cowl for good and leading into Batman Beyond. That's sort of the vibe that I get, at least. Just like the stylistic choice kind of leads me to believe that, you know, we're going into a slightly, this is like kind of a bridge between it being modern and something slightly more futuristic that we see in Batman Beyond, being like a full-on sort of like cyberpunk Akira kind of vibe that Batman Beyond has going. This is definitely like a middle ground. At least that's just the vibe that I got, which I think is a kind of an interesting way of looking at it. But yeah, I just really did not dig Frank Miller's writing throughout this first giant-sized issue. It kind of felt all over the place, and quite frankly, pun not intended, it was kind of hard to follow, which it just felt really disconnected. For me, I just wasn't vibing with it at all. The art also is not my style. Like Klaus Janson, I guess he's the artist on this. I was not fucking with it. I will not lie. I far prefer Batman Year One. I think it's the far superior Batman story. The art's better, the story's better, the vibe, just everything about it is head and shoulders much better than Dark Knight Returns. I just did not care for what I read and just have no inkling of motivation to like continue with it, or yeah, so I dropped it. This is probably one of the worst comics that I've ever read, quite frankly. Like I've never, luckily for me, as I've been reading comics over the last year, just about everything that I've read has at least been okay. I tend to only read bangers for the most part, so I've been very lucky with that. But this is the first time where I've really read a comic and was like, yeah, no. Especially something as highly regarded as this. I mean, there's been like weekly books that just feel schlocky and just like corporate slop that I don't care for, that I've dropped in the past. But as far as like a highly regarded full-on trade paperback, that's, I know people are mixed on Dark Knight Returns anyway, and Frank Miller's Batman in general, so maybe it's not too unpopular of an opinion. But yeah, this is the first time I've had such a bad experience with such a popular and regarded comic book such as this. So yeah, anyways, that's gonna be about it for my review. Let me know if you guys have any differing opinions on Dark Knight Returns. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I mean, obviously I'm missing most of the story. I dropped it towards the beginning, so I'm missing a lot, but just like missing from that first issue. Maybe there's a different way of looking at it. I don't know. I'm ready to just move on to something better. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think about that. If you guys have any differing opinions, I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Don't get it twisted. It's not that I don't care to hear any other points of view. That's not what I'm saying. But I would like to hear what you guys think, if you think differently. But yeah, no, definitely if you haven't read Batman Year One, you're missing out. And if you want to get people into comics, or Batman specifically, this is definitely the way to go. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So anyways, thank you all for watching, and if you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.